Lead-grey clouds draped the cemetery like a mourning cloak, blotting out the sun's warmth and casting deep shadows across the neat rows of white headstones. Between them, American flags stood sentinel, their stars and stripes billowing in the crisp autumn air. The only other sound was the soft, rhythmic flutter of fabric against fabric as mourners shuffled into place, their breaths visible in the chill, carrying with them the weight of loss and respect. At the centre of this quiet assembly, a polished wooden casket lay atop a raised platform, its surface gleaming beneath the flag that draped it. This was Sergeant Daniel Reeves, a man whose life had been defined by service, first on distant battlefields, later alongside his partner in the 9 Unit. Beside the casket maxed, Daniel's German shepherd stood rigid and sombre, ears drooping, gaze locked on the coffin as though he could will his friend back to life. A hush fell as a priest stepped forward, voice low and steady, reciting ancient scriptures that spoke of honour, sacrifice, and the peace promised to those who served. Veterans in crisp uniforms sat with hands over their hearts, their eyes fixed straight ahead. Each word seemed to linger in the cold air, a testament to duty fulfilled, and to a bond severed too soon. Then came the first rifle shot. The sharp report crackled like thunder, shattering the reverent silence. Max's ears shot upright, muscles tensing as the second volley echoed through the grounds. At the third crack, he let out a soft whimper, trembling under his own fur. Emily Reeves, Daniel's daughter, reached out a trembling hand. "It's okay, buddy," she whispered, voice thick with tears. "I know you miss him." But Max did not move. When the final shots boomed, each one a cruel punctuation mark, Max erupted in a sudden, heart-wrenching bark. Without warning, he lunged onto the casket, paws scrambling for purchase on the polished wood. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some veterans rose instinctively, uncertain whether to intervene. The priest's words died on his lips as he stared, mouth agape, at the dog pressed against the flag, draped coffin. Max collapsed over the casket, body heavy against the lid as though leaning in for a final touch. A low, sorrowful howl tore from his throat, raw, guttural, drenched in grief. The sound crawled into every corner of the cemetery, sending shivers through those assembled. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she clutched the folded flag in her lap, knuckles white. "Come on, boy, it's time," called a fellow soldier, stepping forward with gentle authority. But Max remained frozen, head bowed, eyes fixed on the still form beneath the flag. The dog's chest rose and fell in ragged breaths, each inhale a reminder of the life now extinguished. Then, as if awakening from a trance, Max's ears pricked. His nose twitched, nostrils flaring wildly, as though he'd caught a familiar scent on the breeze. Slowly, deliberately, he began to nudge the coffin's edge with his muzzle, scratching at the wood. Emily leaned forward, breath caught in her throat. "Max," she called softly. Still he poured, more insistent now, until the platform seemed to respond to his silent plea. A silent plea. The wind, which had carried the flag's flutter moments before, stilled to nothing. The mourners held their breath as the cemetery fell into an uncanny stillness. Then, against the eerie calm, the American flag atop the casket rippled in a gentle wave, as though an unseen hand had brushed its folds. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Max lifted his head, lifted his muzzle skyward, and howled again. But this time the tone held something different, hope. Emily's phone buzzed, the shrill ring startling in the charged quiet. She fumbled it out of her coat pocket, eyes wide against fresh tears. Date. On the screen, an incoming voicemail from a dad. Finger trembled as she hit play. After a click and a ripple of static, Daniel's voice spoke, warm and clipped by distance. "Hey, sweetheart. If you're hearing this, I guess it means my time's up. I just wanted you to know I love you, and I'll always be with you. And Max, take care of him. If he ever acts strange around my grave, don't be scared," Emily gasped, covering her mouth with one hand as tears cascaded freely. "That just means I'm still here," she whispered into the silence, her voice barely more than a breath. Max, as if understanding, lowered his head and pressed a gentle lick to her hand. Around them, the assembled veterans and even the priest stood motionless, hearts stirred by the impossible moment. The dog abandoned his vigil at last, raising his ears and turning toward Emily. He stepped off the platform in slow, deliberate strides, nose nudging her palm as though sealing a silent promise. In that instant, the cold grief loosened its grip on Emily's chest. She felt warmth bloom, steady and sure, like the rise of the morning sun through retreating fog. The honor guard prepared to fold the flag one final time. As they moved, a faint whistle drifted through the still air, a short, sharp call that Daniel had used countless times to summon Max during training. Emily stiffened, breath caught in her throat, and Max's tail swept once in a single, slow wag. Single, slow wag. Tears slipped from her eyes, but this time they were tears of relief and love. The days that followed passed in a soft haze. Emily and Max wandered through the house like echoes, each room brimming with memories. Max spent hours by Daniel's empty chair, muzzle resting on the cushion, eyes distant. Distant. He ate little, responding only when Emily called his name, as though he, too, waited for a return that would never come. One morning, Emily stepped onto the porch, coffee in hand, expecting to find Max in his usual spot. Instead, he stood at the yard's edge, nose lifted to the cool dawn air, posture straight and focused. "What is it, boy?" she asked, heart tightening. Max turned, eyes bright with something she hadn't seen in weeks. "Purpose." That night, Emily sat at her father's desk, scrolling through pages about 9 training programs, search and rescue, therapy work, law enforcement. With each page, conviction grew in her chest. Her father hadn't simply left a void. He had left a path, a chance for both her and Max to serve others as they had served him. Weeks later, the two of them sat together on the porch as the sun dipped beneath the treetops. The air was just cool enough to make them lean in closer, their breaths mingling in a shared promise. Emily stroked Max's fur and murmured, "Oh, we're going to be okay, buddy. We've got work to do." In that moment, a single firefly drifted into view, its tiny light pulsing like heartbeat, It hovered first near Max, then floated toward Emily, lingering at eye level before blinking out of existence. Max barked once, soft, familiar, joyful, and Emily let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She tilted her face upward, whispering into the twilight, "I know, Dad." "You're still here." Max nudged her hand, and together they rose, stepping into the darkened path before them, toward healing, toward purpose, toward the unbreakable bond that even death cannot sever. Some bonds, it seems, simply find new ways to endure. Dawn greeted Emily and Max with a soft haze of lavender light filtering through the pines. Each morning, they rose before the sun, the porch boards cool beneath their feet, and set out on winding trails carpeted with fallen needles. Emily's breath formed little clouds as she called Max forward, his paws padding like measured drumbeats on the earth. With every step, her nerves hummed. This was new territory, a calling she'd only just embraced. And yet, the steady rhythm of Max at her side grounded her, his warm presence as reassuring as her father's steady hand once was. Their first real assignment came with no fanfare. A weekend search for a hiker lost in dense underbrush. Emily's heart thudded like a hammer against her ribs as she clipped the harness onto Max, the metal clasps cold and firm in her palm. Max inhaled deeply, nostrils flaring, then surged forward, tail a banner of confidence. They followed him through brambles that snagged at Emily's jacket and ferns whispering secrets in the breeze. Then Max halted at a mossy bank and let out a single clear bark. Beyond, curled against a fallen log, was the hiker, shivering, frightened, but alive. Relief washed over Emily like a tide, and in that moment she understood why she'd chosen this path. Back at home, word of their success rippled through the small town like the wake of a passing boat. Neighbours offered quiet congratulations, and Emily felt her father's pride in every nod and smile. Yet as dusk settled, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds, she still found herself wandering out to the empty chair on the porch. Max joined her, sitting close, his muzzle resting on her knee. Emily reached for his fur, fingertips tracing familiar patterns, and whispered. Above them, a single star shimmered, steady, unwavering, and Emily knew their journey was only beginning. What other lives might need saving? What new challenges would test this unbreakable team she and Max had become? Boot.